Hey everyone, Jason here, and I'm back with another Nanocoaster video. Today we're going to be doing the Phantom's Revenge from Kennywood. This is my third and final, for now, Nanocoaster from Kennywood. This was an Aero turned Morgan hypercoaster, a phenomenal ride at the park. It was originally built by Aero, developed a little bit of reputation, had a few issues. Morgan came in and replaced some of the track, took out the inversions, did new trains, some other things as well. Really turned it into a phenomenal ride. One of the top two rides in the park was still Curtain, possibly the best. I know it's a lot of people's number one there. So I'm really excited to build this one, so let's jump right in. So in the box we have the base plate, a single sheet of track pieces, and one single-sided sheet of instructions, nothing on the back. Now the first step with any of these nano coasters is going to be to peel this white protective plastic off of the black acrylic base. Some people forget to do this. It's really easy to forget to do. I think it's probably listed in the instructions. I don't think it actually is. And the white doesn't typically look all that bad, so a lot of people forget it, but the black looks better. To do this, you'll just put your finger underneath one of the corners and start peeling it. With the top, you're going to have the entire track layout etched into the base plate. And so you'll want to peel it off in multiple pieces. The bottom should peel off just in one piece. So there we have our base plate complete. Now if you've seen my other videos, you know that an added step I like to do is I like to add a logo to the base plate. The kit does come with a sign that fits on here. The signs are kind of hard to read. I like to put something bigger. There's actually a fairly large blank space on this base plate. So I've cut this out on my Cricut. If this is something you want to do, or if you need this logo for anything else, I have included an SVG down in the description below. So I'm just going to come down here and I'm going to peel this off and apply it to the base plate, and then we'll pick up from there. So there we've added our logo to the base plate. We can begin cutting out the pieces. So the next step after the base plate is of course to cut out the pieces here. So we have a single sheet of track pieces here. I like to use flush edge wire cutters. The tip sheet says to use nail clippers. That's fine as well. Really anything that can cut this. I found that a good pair of flush edge wire cutters is going to do a really good job and make it a lot easier to cut out. It cuts through with the stainless steel with very little effort. And you can just kind of go around. Next to the track there's these little itty bitty tabs, and you just cut right through them with the cutters. So I'm going to cut out all of the pieces and then we'll proceed to that point. So now that we've cut everything out, we can begin assembly. So if you've ever been to Kennywood, you'll know that the coasters in the park, for the most part, most of them use the terrain a lot. And this is no exception. So you'll notice on the track pieces, these black areas, that's meant to signify kind of the terrain of the park with the coaster. And so you'll see that throughout all of these pieces. So the first piece we're going to do is going to be this piece right here. It has kind of a long tab, a longer tab, and then just a single tab here. And so this piece is actually going to lead, I think, into the brake run kind of. And so right here under where I have the logo, it's just going to be a slight bend. And so we're going to start with this first tab, and then we'll just kind of follow the base plate around to the next longer tab, and then follow it around a little bit more to this last single tab. Now these black pieces that signify the terrain, they are solid stainless steel, and so they are a little bit more difficult to bend. You have to put a little bit more effort into it, and so you might have to fight this just a little bit to get it to line up, but we'll get it there. Once you have the track piece in there, you'll want to bend over the tabs underneath to hold them into place. Also making sure that you're not covering up any of the other holes. And then just kind of come on here on top and just check to make sure that you're following the track layout on the base plate. And that is going to complete step number one. So step two is going to be this track piece here. It has two separate terrain areas with a gap in the middle. This is probably going to hop a piece of track. I'm not sure. Yeah, it looks like it's going to hop the piece of track we just did. And so this is going to go right over the first piece of track we did with the terrain gap hugging against the track. And then here at the end we have this round turnaround that's going to connect to the piece we just did. And so we're going to just kind of bend this around, lining up each of the tabs. So like I said, it is a little bit harder to bend because of the black, but it also helps you, I think, get a little bit better curve, just because it does resist. And so you can kind of just, rather than give it a hard kink, you can just kind of shape it around the curves. We'll press this down into the base. Then we'll fold under the tabs underneath. And once again, come up on top and just make sure everything lines up, especially right here at the seam where the two track pieces connect. You want to make sure that the two track pieces are coming together just right. And that is going to complete step number 2. So step number 3 is going to come right off that piece we just did, and it's going to include kind of this out of the station area into the lift hill into the first drop, not the highest drop, but the first drop, and then a turnaround before it goes back up a hill and into eventually the second drop, which is actually the highest drop. So for this, there is a bend right here at the start, so I'm just going to kind of put it here and then come on here and just bend it along the base plate a little bit, doing a little bit of pre-bending here. Then also on the drop is also curved, so I'm going to come around here and bend this as well, to the point that we can get these tabs to line up. So just like I said, just a little bit of pre-bending there. Once you have that, you can then start pushing this all the way through, just lining up each of the tabs, following the track layout on the base plate, and then pressing the tabs all the way through. Once they're all bent over, we'll just come back up on top here, make sure that our curvature and stuff is exactly how we want it. Especially here on this drop, want to make sure we get this nice and rounded. Make sure that our turns look fine. And that's going to complete step number 3. So step number 4 is going to be this piece here. It's going to continue with the lattice for a little bit and then just move to vertical supports after that. I believe this might be the part that Morgan replaced. I think the lattice supports are probably the arrow portion. I'm not extremely familiar with the ride, so that's just me guessing. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm going to start here. So this one has 2 gaps because it does jump over this piece of track. So we're just going to slide this down over those 2 things and then get the tabs on each side of the gaps down into place. And then after that, we're going to go into this turnaround area that's going to kind of loop this entire track piece around. So we can just kind of, once again, follow the track layout here. And then here with this black part, it is a little, like I said, it's a little bit harder to bend where you have that. So we're going to get some kinks outside of that, but I'm going to bend it around anyways and get this last tab lined up. And then we'll just kind of have to bend it and shape it until we get these other ones to line up as well. Once we have it in there, we'll bend over all of the tabs underneath. That's a pretty stubborn piece of track. And then once again, we'll come up on top and just make sure that our turns are very smooth. We don't want them like arrow turns, we want them like Morgan turns. You know, pretty smooth, not rough. Just make sure that our curvature is nice. Then up here at the top, where the pieces bend together, we're just gonna have to bend this just a little bit so that the track pieces just kind of line up. And that is going to complete track piece number 4. So track piece number 5 is the final track piece. This piece we're gonna have to do a little bit of pre-bending on. It's gonna connect everything that we've already done. And it's also gonna hop over the track where we just were. So for this, I'm actually gonna just kind of put it over the track and then just kind of bend it around where I know it needs to be, just to kind of give it a little bit of a pre-bend, just kind of in a C shape like that. It's not perfect, but it gives us a little bit more room to work with now. And so now I can just kind of put, we probably need to start where we left off since it has to hop over the track there. So we'll put the 2 tabs in that hop over the track. And then just continue following the track layout, lining up the tabs as we go around, just to make it all work. And then once again, once you have all that in, you'll bend over the tabs underneath. That was a very stubborn piece. A few pieces on here were actually very stubborn. It's a tight fit. It's a hard piece to bend because of where it's at, and then you have to just get the tabs to line up perfectly. So definitely not the easiest piece to do. But we got it there. Now I can just come around on the top and make sure once again we have it bent over just the way we want it. I forgot to bend over one of the tabs under here. Notice when I pushed down it started pushing back up on me. But we'll make sure that our turn is just right, make sure everything's lined up, and that is going to finish the track layout for the Phantom's Revenge. So the final step is going to have us be doing the station building as well as the sign. If you've ever done these station buildings, you know there are all these little house shapes. This one's no different except that it's a lot taller, and the instructions actually show, I guess, both ways. But you'll basically just fold this into a house shape. And this one's actually not scored very well on the sides of the roof, but we can still bend it. And once again, this is a terrain coaster with an elevated station, and so you'll notice there's these black areas on top and bottom. But with that, we can now just come over here and slide this down into the 2 slots over the track or over the station area. And fold over the tabs. And then also the little sign. We'll put that down here in front, bend over the tab, and bend it back just a little bit. And that's going to complete the kit exactly as it comes from Kennywood. Now, if you've seen my other videos, you know something I like to add to this is a felt bottom. So I have this adhesive felt here I got from Amazon. I'd like to add this. So if you look at the bottom, you have all these tabs that are there, and they scratch up the surface. They risk snagging on things. And so this kind of just covers that up. And so to do this, I like to line up one of the edges here. I'd like to line up more than one if I can. This one is not a very squared off base plate. So I just kind of have to do it the way that it is. And then we'll just trace around this on the felt with a pen or pencil. And then we'll take a pair of scissors and we'll cut just inside of where we marked, about 1/8 of an inch inside. It's okay if the felt's a little bit smaller than the base plate, but if it's a little bit bigger, then it makes things just a little bit more difficult to work with. It hangs over the edge, it doesn't look as good, and you can trim it up, but it's preferred if you don't have to. So I'm going to cut this out really quick and then we'll put it on. So once we have that all cut out, we'll peel off some of this paper backing, roughly about 1/3 of it. And then we'll take the coaster and we'll just set it over the top, making sure we're covering that felt up completely. Once we have it there, we can peel away the rest of this and then very carefully just add the rest of the coaster to it. This felt does stretch if you don't do it right, and so we don't want it to do that. But there you can see we now have a nice felt bottom, and it slides around really nicely. Really cool kit. So there's the final completed Phantom's Revenge Nano Coaster. A really cool model here of a really great coaster. This is available from Kennywood for $34.99. I don't believe they sell their kits online. I believe it's only from the park. But yeah, really nice looking kit here. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up button down below. If you want to see more Nano Coaster and coaster cutout videos, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I got a few more coming up. Thanks for watching and have a great day.